You finished the conversation. You said goodbye, you walked to your car, you sat in the driver's seat, and you cried. Not because anything went wrong, because something went right. Because the whole night someone kept asking, "Are you okay?" And you kept saying, "I'm fine." And the terrifying part is, you don't even know why. You weren't lying exactly. You just couldn't open your mouth and let the real answer out. Something inside you locked the door before you even reached for the handle. And the lonelier it felt, the more convinced you became that this is just who you are. Here's the twist that nobody says out loud. The people who never ask for help are not the strongest people in the room. They are the people who learned, at a very specific moment in their life, that needing something from someone else was the most dangerous thing they could do. But what if the silence you built was never about strength at all? What if it was the most intelligent response your mind could create at the time, and your nervous system simply never got the update that you're safe now? If you have ever sat in pain and chosen to disappear into it alone rather than reach for another person, this video was made for you. By the end of this, you will understand not just why you do this, but where it was born, what it has been protecting, and why it was never the flaw you thought it was. Let me paint a picture. You were around 9 years old. Something happened, maybe something small, maybe something enormous, and you went to someone you trusted. You reached, you opened up, and what came back was not what you needed. Maybe they minimized it, maybe they got frustrated, maybe they were simply too overwhelmed with their own lives to hold yours too. Maybe they said nothing at all, which was somehow the loudest response of all. You stood there with your hands out and felt the specific shame of needing something that wasn't going to come. And somewhere in that moment, your mind made a quiet, logical decision. It built the first layer of the armor. It said, "We don't do that again. We handle it ourselves. We become someone who doesn't need." And you did. You got very, very good at it. Here's the science, and it's going to make so much of your life suddenly make sense. Psychologists call what you built compulsive self-reliance. In plain words, this is the moment the nervous system decides that needing others is a threat, not a resource. Dr. John Bowlby at the Tavistock Institute in London spent decades studying attachment, how early relationships literally blueprint the way we move through the world. What he found was devastating in its simplicity. When caregiving is inconsistent, unavailable, or emotionally unsafe, the developing brain doesn't conclude that this particular relationship was the problem. It concludes that depending on anyone is the problem. Think about that. Your mind didn't decide those specific people were unsafe. It decided need itself was unsafe. And then there is this. Researchers Dr. Mario Mikulincer and Dr. Philip Shaver at Bar Ilan University studied what they called the deactivating strategy. In plain words, the mind's way of turning down the volume on its own emotional needs so they become almost inaudible. Your brain learned to suppress the signal before it ever became a request. Before you could even consciously feel, "I need help," that feeling was already being rerouted, muted, filed away somewhere you couldn't access it. This is not a character flaw. This is neurological adaptation. This is your mind doing its job with the information it had. You were never broken. You were responding. And it follows you, right back to that car, right back to that driver's seat. You are sitting there now, adult version of that 9-year-old, and the weight is real. Not dramatic, not self-pity, just weight. The kind that settles in your chest after another night of performing fine when you were anything but fine. You watch other people ask for things effortlessly, ask for help, ask for comfort, ask to be held, and something hollow opens in you. Not jealousy exactly, grief maybe. For every moment you folded yourself smaller so no one could see you struggling. For every conversation where someone said, "You seem so put together," and you smiled because what else do you do with that? Invisible in the most exhausting way possible, not unseen by others, but unseen by the one person who could have given you permission to fall apart, yourself. Stay with me because this is where it changes. But not everyone who does this is carrying the same wound. Some people learned silence from a home where emotions were punished. Some learned it from a world that kept rewarding their self-sufficiency until they forgot there was another option. Some built it from one single moment of exposure, one time they let someone in and paid a price they are still quietly paying. Ask yourself honestly, when you trace your silence back, what was it protecting you from? Not what it costs you now, what it saved you from then. Because that answer is the whole story. Nothing is wrong with you. Say that again slower. Nothing is wrong with you. What you built was not weakness wearing a mask of strength. It was intelligence wearing armor it no longer needs. Not cold, armored. Not lonely, selective. Not broken, becoming. You are not someone who cannot receive love. You are someone whose nervous system learned to survive without it. And that is one of the loneliest, most quietly heroic things a human being can do. You deserve to put this down, not because you owe it to anyone, because you have been carrying it for years, and it was never supposed to be this heavy. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to reach. You have always been enough to be worth reaching for. That is not weakness. That is one of the quietly fiercest things a person can do. You belong here, in this space, with the other people who watched this and felt the floor slightly shift under them. Drop one word in the comments that describes how you felt watching this. Just one word, and you will be surprised how many people write the exact same one. And if you want to understand why you feel everything so deeply, why you protect so hard, why certain connections crack you open in ways you still cannot explain, that video is already waiting for you. You've been carrying this a long time. You don't have to figure it out.